Hello aspirants, welcome back to the fascinating world of anthropology and anthropology optional at Sriram says. So friends, as a part of today's episode, let us try to learn about some of the important aspects about the nature of society. So in last episode, we tried to understand about some of the important basics about the socio-cultural anthropology. If you happen to watch this lecture for the first time, try to go back and try to watch that lecture, and then you come back to this particular lecture so that you can just follow the proper connectivity of the subject. So friends, myself, Dr. Suresh Kunda, and I am the faculty of anthropology at Sriram IAS. So let's begin the lecture and let's begin today's episode. So with the basic understanding of the term society. So when we talk about the nature of the society, see, this concept is very, very important to understand. That is society. So from the very basic and simple thing that society, the term society is basically derived from a Latin word. So that is known as socius. So the word socius in Latin further basically refers to something that is known as companionship, or it is also known as friendship in other ways. So from this perspective, what we can say is that society in general sense could be understood as the group of individuals. I hope this is very much simple and this is very much familiar to any of you. Now, if we look from this particular root word or etymological perspective, so it is understood that man cannot live alone, or man is a social animal. As said by Aristotle, man is a social animal and man cannot live alone, whereas society is something that precedes an individual. So that means human being cannot live alone, and human being can always live in association with other individuals, or in companionship with other individuals, or in friendship with other individuals. So what we can say from that point of view, so in a simple fashion, how we can describe and how we can discuss and how we can define society means, in a very simple fashion, it is association of individuals, or in other way we can also say this, that group of individuals. Now if you look from the perspective of this definition is not a complete or holistic definition to explain the entire concept of society. So in a simple way, so what are other important things? So group of individuals with some important characteristics, like say group of individuals with a common culture, a group of individuals with a common culture. And the second thing, a group of individuals who live in a defined territory, and a group of individuals with a common culture and who live in a defined territory and form a distinct unit. So this we can generally call it as the society in very simple terms. That means now if you see from some of the examples of a society, so try to remember and try to understand this thing. So now we can say a thing like say Indian society. So can we able to say that society in India, there are group of individuals? Obviously yes, group of people are there. And is this, does India has a defined territory? Yes, obviously. And is there any particular culture for India? So yes, Indian culture. So in that particular fashion, in a very simple fashion, how we can define the culture means, society means it's group of individuals with a common culture and a defined territory, and those form into a distinct unit. So that is what, in a very simple fashion, we can say it as something that is known as society. Is that it clear? Now, from this particular definition point of view, we can understand this. Now, here we have understood one important term, that is culture. So, what is this culture? Again, if there are a group of people who are living in a particular territory, then they will be having a way of life. In a very simple fashion, the way of life of a group of people who are living in a particular territory can be generally understood or can be generally explained as something that is known as culture. Is that clear? So that's where what you have to remember is that society is nothing but the group of individuals with a common culture, and culture is nothing but the way of life of the group of people who are living in a particular territory. So that is what something that you have to remember here in this context. Now, if you look from the further aspects of the society point of view, so society could be defined in different ways, and society could be defined by has been defined by various scholars. So let's have a look into the basic definitions of the society which have been given by various scholars. Now, first and foremost definition that we can look from the perspective of the society means, we can see from the perspective of the MacIver and the Page. So try to catch this one. So first definition that we are picking is from the definition which is being given by one of the important sociological scholar who is known as the MacIver and his companion Page. So according to MacIver and Page, society, they defined society as a web of social relations or web of social relationships. So that is where he defined that. So he defined that society is the web of social relations. Now, what do we mean by this? That means, in a simple fashion to say, society is made up of various social relations, and those social relations are intricately interconnected with each other. So that is what that means to MacIver and Page would want to say to us. That means, say, for example, in a society, there would be a doctor, and this doctor will be connected with, say, some engineer, and this engineer would be further connected with, say, some carpenter, and this carpenter would be further connected with a vegetable vendor, and this vegetable vendor will be again connected with the engineer, and this vendor again will be connected with the doctor for his health, and in the same way this carpenter will be further connected with the doctor for his health needs. So in this fashion, so if you see, society is basically could be explained or highlighted or described as the web of social relations, where there would be a lot of roles performed by different members of the society, and that's how we can understand. So this is one of the important definition that you can remember, simplest, but yet it is one of the important definition. And then if you see from other scholarly definitions for the society, we can proceed with the definition that is being given by Radcliffe-Brown. So who is Radcliffe-Brown? Radcliffe-Brown is basically regarded as functionalist. Which kind of functionalist? He is basically regarded as structural functionalist. So being structural functionalist, so Radcliffe-Brown defines everything from the point of the structural functionalism point of view. So from that point of view, how he explained society or how he described society as that society is a structurally and functionally organized group of individuals or human interactions. Organized human interactions. Now, try to look at the correlation that is being given, that is there existing in between the MacIver and Page definition with that of Radcliffe-Brown's definition. So both of them are talking about something, social relations or human interactions. So he is systematically quoting it from this point of view, that it is structurally organized human interactions and functionally organized human interactions. So that is where you can have it. Say, like functionally, say a doctor will meet and treat his patients. A carpenter will try for serving the people who are looking for some wooden related activities. So like that, functionally related human interactions. You can remember this as one another important definition. Then furthermore, if you see from the perspective of the other important definitions, so we can have the definition which has been given by one important scholar known as George Simmel. So George Simmel also tried to put forward in similar such kind of definition. So George Simmel is one another important sociological scholar or sociological thinker who said that society is basically can be explained as a web of interactions. So this is something that he has said. So he has explained it, web of interactions. So this is one thing. So George Simmel is also very, very important sociological thinker who said that the element of sociability is something that makes the society as an endurable unit. That means sociability is very, very important aspect in the society. That's what George Simmel has said. Is that it clear? That's one important aspect. So these are some of the basic definitions that can be explained for the concept of the social society. And if you look from other scholarly definitions, so one more definition which we can recollect in this case is the definition which has been given by the Malinowski. So most of you might be familiar with the scholar Malinowski. Who is Malinowski? Malinowski is a functionalist. What kind of functionalist? He is a cultural functionalist. So what do he says? Whatever Malinowski says, he defines it in the terms of functional perspective. He defines from the function of any particular aspect that serves from its perspective. So that's where, so Malinowski defines further society in his own way. So how he defines? He defines society as a system of social institutions. Society is a system of social institutions. Society is a system of social institution and their functional aspects. So, and their functional aspects. Now, how can we just understand this? Say for example, so in a society, so we will have some of the social institutions. Like say for example, so talk about religion. So religion is a social institution. Now, what is the functional role that is played by, as a social institution, what role does religion plays? It tries to regulate and control the religious behavior in the society. And in the same way, we have other social institutions, like say, for example, marriage. So here, marriage as a social institution also tries to regulate and control the mating relations in the society. So that's how, so in a simple fashion, if we say, society is made up of various social institutions. It's a system of social institutions and their functional aspects. That makes up the society. That's what Malinowski says, because he is a functional scholar, functionalist. So that's where we should remember. And in the same way, friends, try to remember that. So in a way to say, society can be broadly explained as anthropologically or comprehensively to say society can be basically, it could be, or it can be explained as it's a union of various social groups and social institutions. So union of various social groups and various social institutions. So here these social groups will interact with the social institutions, and that union of social groups and social interactions and their interactions refers to society. Now here something that we should understand is that what are social groups and what are social institutions, that we should understand. Now in a simple fashion, how we can understand this particular thing? So we can say that social group is nothing but basically the group of people or group of individual, so with some common goals and objectives. With some common goals and objectives, duties to perform. So this aspect we call basically, or this kind of thing we call it as a social group. Now what kind of examples that we can give for a social group? Remember, for example, or take family is a social group. Or you remember, say for example, a religious group is a social group. Or you have this, that like say caste group is a social group. Or in a way you take other example like say sports group is another social group. Or you take anything, say for example a peer group is a social group. Or pressure group. So there are so many examples. That's how you can keep on giving to the term social groups. Now take up a social group like religious group. So this is a group of people and they have a common goal and objective, that is they have to respect their religious belief systems. That's the goal, and they have to stick to the norms and rules and regulations that have been imposed by that particular religion. So that's where they have that particular thing. So that's how, what we can say, social group is basically nothing but this thing. And now society is further made up of other social unit, that is known as social institutions. So what is this and how can we define this? So in a simple fashion to say, all those social units which regulates and controls the human behavior in the society. So they are basically known as the social institutions. Can you able to catch that? That means if there is a society, that means a group of individuals, so there should not be chaos that are prevailing in that particular society. So rather there has to be a social order that must be established. So social institutions, what do? They strive to maintain social order in the society. They strive to maintain social order in the society. And in order to maintain the social order, they will try to regulate and control the human behavior in the society. Okay, so this is where you should remember. So here you remember human behavior, you should remember. So this is something that you should remember. Now, what kind of examples that we can give to the social institutions? Again, so social institutions could be like this. Say, marriage is a social institution. Then family is a social institution. Then you can say our political organization is a social institution. And in the same way, so economic organization is a social institution. And in the same way, religion is a social institution. So like that, there are so many social institutions that are present in the society. And there further if you see, so we can further categorize these social institutions based upon their nature. So there you can remember that there could be some institutions which are known as primary social institutions. And there can be some things that is known as the secondary social institutions. Primary social institutions and secondary social institutions. Now, what are these primary social institutions? That is another important thing that we should understand. Primary social institutions are those social units which tries to regulate and control the biological needs of the human beings. So they are, say, for example, they try to control or they'll regulate the biological needs. And say what kind of examples that we can give to this kind of things. Say for example, marriage is a primary social institution. Family is a primary social institution. So like that we can give examples for these things. And those social institutions which tries to generally regulate the needs other than the biological needs. Then such kind of institutions are called as secondary biological institutions. Say what kind of examples that we can give for this kind of thing. So there we can give the examples such as, say for example, religion is a secondary institution, or economic organization is a secondary institution because they do not address or control the biological needs. So that's where there can be primary social institutions and there can be secondary social institutions. So this is how we can broadly define the term society in the sociocultural anthropology. So in a way what we can say, society is nothing but it's the union of social groups and social institutions and their interactions between them. So this thing we can broadly categorize or comprehensively treat or call it as society. So as a part of our nature of society, so the topics like say social groups would be there, social institutions will be there, and the society will be there like that. So further we also try to understand about the basic term that is the culture. So culture could be generally explained as the way of life of the group of people. So in a simple fashion, so to say, so what is culture and how we can define it are all those things what we can do. So let's try to learn this particular thing in the next episode. But here, just to give you one basic idea about the culture basically it says about what we are. It explains or describes about what we are. That means, in a very simple fashion to say, it talks about things like say, what kind of food we consume. It talks about things like say, what kind of dress or dressing style we wear. Or it talks about what kind of arts we follow. Or it talks about what kind of say, arts like say music, dance, all those things that will be there. And it also talks about what kind of language that we use for communication purpose. and it also says about what kind of morals or laws or customs that we follow. Or it also further talks about something that, so what about the traditions or customs that we follow? So all these things together, we call it as culture. That means culture is a kind of complex whole or complex entity which includes all of these particular aspects. So in a simple way, it says the way of life of a group of people who are living in a particular territory. So that's where we call it as this particular thing, that is society. So this is where in the nature of society, the concepts are the topic. So we have to learn about these basic things. What is society? What is culture? What are social groups? What are social institutions? And if there is a society, so then this group of individuals will be systematically arranged in a hierarchical way. They'll be arranged in a hierarchical manner. So, such a systematical arrangement of the individuals in a hierarchical manner as a superposed classes basically refers to something that is known as social stratification. Social stratification. So, society would be arranged into different layers based upon the superiority and inferiority, based upon the basic other criteria. So, such a system, such a classification of the society or the arrangement of the society into the superior and inferior or higher or lower units basically refers to social stratification. So this is where, so very, very important things that we should remember from the concept of the social, from the society is that, so first and foremost thing that we have to understand the society. What is society? And the second thing, we have to understand what are social groups. I hope you have understood that. Then next thing that you should understand is that what are social institutions. Next, we should understand what is the basic term, the social stratification. Stratification. Now, in the comment section, try to give an example of the social stratification, if anything that you can recollect from Indian society context point of view. And in the same way, so we have also, we should also try to understand the concept of culture from the nature of society point of view. And further, you should also try to remember the relation between, so the culture and society. What is it? So these are some of the important aspects that you should learn from the perspective of the topic, that is the topic nature of society. So which is basically present in our Anthro paper 1. So particularly unit 2.2. So try to read this particular topic from any of the standard books that I have suggested in the orientation session. And if you have any further doubts, you can just comment in the comment box, or you can take an appointment of one-to-one mentorship session where I'll explain you directly. So that's all for the day from my side. So keep watching Sriram's IAS YouTube channel, Hyderabad, as well as Delhi channels, so that we can keep on interacting with us. So friends, in next episode, I'll be coming up with the next important topic, that is the nature of culture. Till then, keep revising the concept of nature of society, and we'll meet again in the next video, in the next episode. Till then, take care. Thank you. Goodbye.